They are three different people in three different institutions, so you might hear, three different opinions, but they should definitely be all aligned. And they're great at explaining why they're saying what they have to say. So just kind of keep that in mind. As well, we're going to try to hit topics on the general level, not like school-specific things, to help all of you as well. So with that said, we are going to first find out who we do have here. And so if you just want to tell us a little bit about who you are, the school you're representing, like a quick elevator pitch about what your school is all about, and then we'll dive into the actual essay.
Definitely. Okay. Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone. My name is Rosa Blomvicki, and I get to serve as our Assistant Director of Regional Recruitment for Marquette University. So that just means that even though Marquette is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I live only about 35 minutes from here in Elmwood Park, Illinois. So I'm kind of like a built-in resource for all things Marquette related. If you're not familiar with Marquette, we are a mid-sized private Catholic Jesuit institution. So we have roughly about 8,000 undergraduate students. We have about 3,000 graduate students or so. So you really do get that balance between big versus small. So you get those big school experiences of going to Division I basketball games, but then you also have your average class size of only about 23 or so. A couple of things that I like to kind of mention about us. We are definitely an urban campus, so we're literally located only about a mile from city center downtown Milwaukee, and because of that, our students are really able to take advantage of internships, networking experiences, so much so that we were recently ranked #1 in Wisconsin and #6 nationally for job placement. So that's a really big deal and something I like to share with students. There's so much more I could say about our campus, but I'll be coming to a specific visit about Marquette at Hersey later this month, so sign up to come and visit me then.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jennifer Davis. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Admission at Purdue University. I'm also locally based here in the Chicagoland area. I actually live here in my hometown of Arlington Heights. I actually went to school in 214 as well, graduated from a different high school there. With that said, Purdue is a large public university. We have 2 campus locations. We have our location in West Lafayette. That is more of your traditional college campus with over 40,000 undergraduate students. We also have a campus location in Indianapolis. That is our urban campus. So for those of you that want a city environment, Indianapolis is where you're going to want to look. That campus has approximately a little over 3,000 students. Overall at Purdue, we have over 200 majors that students can choose from. Some of our most popular majors: engineering, business, professional flight, nursing, Big Ten athletics. So the student experience is something that we're very mindful of at Purdue. And as Rosa said, I could keep going on and on about my school as well, but I will be visiting Hersey in the beginning of October. So for those of you that are interested in Purdue, I look forward to meeting with you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Betcher. I'm Associate Director of Admissions at the University of Illinois Springfield, a much different school than the 2 that you've already heard from. All right, most of you probably haven't even heard of Illinois Springfield. You've heard of my sister campuses in Urbana-Champaign in Chicago. But Springfield is designed specifically to give you the best of both worlds. U of I degree, the exact same degree you get in Urbana-Champaign, the exact same one, okay? But you're doing that at a campus with about 4,000 students. That means that your average class size is 15 students. So everything that you hear from a small private school, we are offering. And we're doing that at the 5th lowest loan debt in the Midwest. So when it comes to college costs, there is basically nobody competing with us in the Midwest. All right, and that's a pretty big area. In addition to that, we have some of the top majors in the state, which include the #1 nursing program in the state, probably easily the best pre-law program in Illinois, the #1 medical lab science program or forensic science program in the state, and finally, the #1 child advocacy program in the world. So even though you haven't heard of Illinois Springfield, we have some of the top majors probably in the country, if not in the Midwest. And I'm going to be back here in early November to do an admit workshop. That means I can admit you on the spot if you have over a 3.0 unweighted GPA. The date, I think we're still finalizing, or maybe we haven't finalized, but it's early November that'll be back. And we'll go through a ton more about the university then.
About your college application, there are so many elements of it that are very quantitative in nature. So GPA, test score, if a school requires it, right? And some schools, they do base an admission decision just off of that quantitative evaluation. But there are some schools that do what's called a holistic review. And the holistic review means that they're taking every element of your application into equal consideration. And so the essay is a really important part because it's one of the qualitative parts of your application. It's where we get to learn about you, what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, maybe struggles you've had to overcome. And so it's just a really valuable part of the application because it allows me, as the admission counselor reading your application, to learn things about you that help me to identify how would you fit into my college campus, and or are there ways that I can be advocating for you? Are there core values of my institution that you're really resonating with? Those are things that I can advocate for you when it comes to an admission review committee. The essay, so a personal statement, and that's usually what you find like in the common application. The personal statement is really you saying, these are things about me generally. You're not tying that to a specific school. If a school does want the why us question, they're going to ask a writing supplement. Do you require supplements? Okay, so I'll pass it over to you to talk about that.
Great. Do you want to add anything about the
No,
command essay?
good.
Okay.
You're good.
So when it comes to supplementals, so you have your personal statement, which again is your Common App essay. Okay, we're going to dive into that a little bit more. The college essays or the supplemental essays that colleges will ask you. So you have your Common App, you select the university that you want to apply to, and then we have our specific questions we want you to answer. So using Purdue as an example of what a supplemental essay could be like. We essentially ask our students, why Purdue and why your major? So what are we looking for when students, or universities in general, what are they looking for in those supplementals? Well, we want you to answer that question from your perspective. But then it is in your best interest to tie it to the university. So make it university specific. So I should not be able to copy and paste your college supplemental essay response from one university to the next. It should be specific to Marquette, to Purdue, to U of I Springfield. Does that make sense? So a good place to start would be, if you haven't visited the school, you can go on their website and research the website to see what would be important to you, and tying it to the response that you gave for that personal statement, or college essay, sorry.
So I think the only other thing I'll say, so that means that your Common App essay, aka maybe your personal statement, that should not be college specific in any way. Your Common App essay, it is common. So you would not want to say, and that's why I want to go to Butler University, and then you're applying to Marquette, because that's just a little awkward. It's not like instant grounds for deny, that's not how it works. But it's just a little uncomfortable. So just make sure that you're keeping your Common App essay common.
And we had a good talk before in the lobby when some of the reps were here about the difference between the two and saying, is the supplemental more important than the others, or is there like a strategy? I feel like we start the Common App essay with all of you in May in your English classes, right? And then you're working on that all summer. And I've tried to stress to you not to sleep on those supplemental essays and, instead of 5 months on one and 5 days on the other. Any other thoughts about how those two work together or against each other, or should less time be spent now? Should we just forget the Common App, just wrap it up, and like how can we make sure that we're giving enough attention to both? And is there a way to tell if a college favors one over the other?
Okay, so I think it depends on the institution, and so therefore, know that the three of us are here, but there are literal hundreds of people, thousands of people who do our job. So any institution that you are applying for, you will have someone like me who is your admission counselor at that institution. And so I do think having the conversation with your counselor and just saying, what's your take on this? I noticed that you do require supplements. I've been on panels before with other college reps who do have supplementals, and they're like, that's really the only thing that we have bandwidth to look at. And so I do think that asking that question to the counselor is helpful, but I don't know if you handle that differently. We don't require supplements for the majority of our programs. And so for us, the Common App essay is absolutely the most important thing. And so I would say, make sure that you are spending a really good amount of time telling me who you are through that Common App essay.
Yeah, the thing I would add with that, and something that I've seen over my 22 years, is the fact that the Common App essay, you can tell it's been checked by 3 teachers, parents, friends, like you spent a lot of time on it. A lot of times with either supplement essays or what they call like additional information stuff on the Common App, you need to tell us something. You did that in like 10 minutes when you wanted to submit your app. And the writing doesn't match. It doesn't. And so what we know is that supplemental essay or the additional information stuff, that's what you're really going to do in Comp 1. The other stuff is, I'll say it, it's kind of fake. Somebody else helped you write it. You spent months on it. You're never going to spend months on a homework assignment for English. Right? You're not. And so if you're doing additional essays, if you apply to Purdue, you're doing it. But if there's something in your life that you've got to explain to us in the additional information essay, please get that checked. Don't just do it in 5 minutes because, hey, I gotta submit this today, like those kind. We see that all the time, and that's when we see the lowercase i's, we see some really weird grammar stuff, we see misspelled words because I know what you did and it autocorrected to a different word. All right, we know what you're doing. All right, but just understand that when those don't match in quality, it's giving us kind of an insight to what your real writing style is. Does that make sense? Hopefully, I've seen it, man, I've seen some amazing Common App essays, and then like an additional information essay with no capital letters, maybe a period, like those two differ quite a bit, and I just want to make sure that you guys realize that when you submit additional information, that is something that committees are going to look at.
And I would say, and so two things, and I asked you to touch a little bit more on the additional information section in a moment, but one of the reasons why for College Essay-palooza we limit you to 2 times and not all like 15 times or whatever, it's because we don't want it to be overdone by staff. We don't want you to have 15 different staff members constantly looking at it, giving you an opinion. We want to try to keep it in your own voice. And so, again, good point. If you're spending months on one thing and minutes on the other, it's going to show. So, so what is the deal with this additional information section, right? Is it really optional? Like, I personally hate the word optional. It's very confusing. So additional information, it's optional. What is the deal with it? It's an extra, I think, 350 words this year. Does that mean I can just make my Common App 950 words and just keep going there? I didn't get to finish. I want to keep going. Like, what is the deal with it? Like, when should it be used? Does it have to be used? Yeah.
It is really a place for students to provide information that they weren't able to provide anywhere else in their applications. Let me give you a couple examples of how I've seen high school students use it. Maybe there was because Purdue also has a holistic review, so we're looking at every part of your application. Maybe there was a dip in your grades first semester sophomore year due to a sickness of some sort or an injury, and so you had to miss a lot of school. Students may use that additional information section to provide context to why there may be a declining grade trend and then an upward trend again. Great. That all you're doing is providing context. That helps us. That's great. Maybe you participated in a summer camp at a university and you listed it in your activity section, but maybe you wanted to elaborate on a really cool project that you did. Or maybe you did an internship through 214 over the summer, and though you listed it in your activity section, you wanted to elaborate potentially on projects that you worked on. So really you can use that, maybe there's additional awards you weren't able to list. It's really to provide additional, again, information on something that you weren't able to elaborate on or that you feel is important to your application and to what you're applying into. I say use it if you want to. We read it. I don't know if every university does.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, so that section actually used to be roughly, it was like 600 words as well. And I would see students utilize it as, well, I had this other great essay and I just couldn't choose between the two. Don't do that. That's just like, I don't have bandwidth to be able to evaluate two separate essays, and it's not serving to your advantage at that point. So I absolutely just want to echo utilizing that as a place to input information that we cannot find in any other element of your application. Because when we are evaluating holistically, we are truly looking at every piece that you submitted to us. So that activities list, you are limited in the amount of characters. So I like that idea of like expanding on, maybe a certain activity or something. Yeah.
The other thing I want to add is this is your chance to spin a negative into a positive. I know we talked about like a grade dip, but if there is something on your application, and the best part about going to this high school is your high school counselors are some of the best in the state. All right, when it comes to college, you have more colleges visiting here. You've got college resource people here that know what they're doing. Okay. They can look at your high school stuff and go, hey, if you're trying to get into this school, this is a red flag. That's what you're explaining, and spin it to a positive. Because I don't think that you guys understand. When we look at something and it's not explained, we're like, uh-oh, they're trying to hide something or like something I'm not sure about. And we can make assumptions, but that doesn't always mean we know what's going on. Okay? And all of you are going through things in life right now. You're at that age where everybody's going through things. Don't think that, oh, I can't tell a college about this or what was going on. We'd rather hear about it so that we can say, wow, look, this person overcame this, or hey, they're admitting to this. That's a bigger strength than you just ignoring it.
There was a question, or I don't know if we're taking questions from the audience, but.
Sure, we can take a quick one.
It's just a quick one. So for the structure of the initial info session, I'm wondering exactly how you want that. Is it something with a PowerPoint?
The structure can be literally anything and everything. If you're like, I wanted you to know these 5 extra things. It could be 5 bullet points of 5 extra sentences. It doesn't need to be as structured, but to Aaron's point, it does need to be grammatically accurate still, and still a strong show of your writing abilities. Yeah, but it doesn't need to be structured in a certain way.
Okay, that was a great question.
So I know one of the concerns often with students is we talk about how this is more of a qualitative aspect versus GPA and test scores. And so we want to stand out and be unique. So let's start with the way this could backfire, right? Is there something like if a student does fill in the blank, I'll stop reading, you've lost me, you've shocked me, you've offended me? Is there like, what are some of the, if not, because I know you probably have to keep reading no matter what are some of those like big mistakes that maybe students are trying to, stand out, but it's not maybe the best practice to go about doing so?
I feel like sometimes, like if I see a student trying to be edgy and, they swear right away, like I've seen that, students like swearing in their college essay, it's just a little off-putting. I encourage you to like think about the institution that you're applying for. You're applying there because you likely resonate with your core values are similar to theirs, and so think about that when you're writing your essay. I do also just want to note that we are mandatory reporters, and so there are, to Aaron's point earlier, there are life things that happen, and that is something that you need to be working through personally. I don't know if it's the appropriate space for your college essay, because we have gotten college essays before that then raise a really big red flag, and I have to go to my dean and say, this is what I read, this is what I learned, and it can be triggering for us as well. Like, remember, we are humans as well. We've been through life things, and so I think if you're like reading this or putting together your essay and you're like, well, this is going to be the shock value, just think about, is it going to actually read how you want it to read to the admission counselor? Is it going to get across your character? And if your answer is yes, I think it is still appropriate to share that, but you need to make sure that somehow, some way you say, and I'm on the other side of that situation, I am safe now, this is not something that's currently still happening, because otherwise, we are mandatory, like we are going to reach out to your college counselor and say, hey, this is concerning, we need to check on this student. So that's just something to know.
I would just say that that probably happens about 10 to 15 times a year when I read essays. I'm reading thousands and stuff. Just that point where I have to go to somebody above me and say, hey, do I need a report? Like, what's going on? Those kinds of things. So I want you guys to be aware of that. The other thing I would tell you is understand the importance of first impressions. All right? When we look at this essay, it's simply on a computer screen. I don't care if you indent the first paragraph or don't indent the first paragraph. Just keep the same structure throughout. All right, it's not a test where we know what you're doing. It's really easy to get B's and C's in high school because if I don't know the answer to a test, and then I just make up a bunch of work, and the teacher's going to give me half credit, and I get the other questions right that I know, and then I can get an A or B or C on the test. Right? We all know how to play the game. Or an English paper, I make all the changes they made in red, and I make 2 other changes, and then my English teacher gives me an A. Right? We all know how this works. On this essay, I don't care if it's indented or not indented. The second paragraph should be the same as the first paragraph. And I would probably say in 5 out of every 100, I have indent, then non-indent, then indent, and then I'm going, ooh, I don't know if this kid can write at the college level, and that's my first impression of the reading. It's like picking up your date for the homecoming dance and workout clothes and you didn't shower. Right? They might not get in the car with you. And so just whatever the structure is, I don't care if you use 2 spaces after a period or 1 space after a period. Just the same thing throughout the paper. And we see that. That's really obvious to us before we start reading. I mean, nowadays the word I is a capital letter. I say that because I see a lot of sticks with balls on top of it when I read essays. And that's just really obvious that, hey, you didn't spend 5 seconds to proofread your paper before you turned it in. Okay, so those types of things would be the biggest like stuff that I see right off the bat that I'm like, uh-oh, now I've got to take a different eye at this essay.
Great. So I echo what my colleagues are saying, and making sure that you're grammatically correct is really important. So we keep saying that, so thank you for bringing that up. But when we're reading, first thing I do when I'm reading an essay is I read the question that you selected. And then did you answer the question? But the biggest mistake that I see that students make in their Common App essays is that they give me like a play-by-play of what happened. Maybe it was a robotics competition where the project went wrong at the last minute. They're giving me a play-by-play of what happened. Great essay. That's not a great essay. Great topic. But what I want to know is, instead of a play-by-play of what happened, tell me what happened. Tell me the effort that had to go into making that project, and then obviously the catastrophic event of it breaking at the last minute. But now I want to know how you overcame that. I want to know what skills you developed because of that, what lessons you learned, how you're going to bring that forward to college, right, into your life in general. So what I see is they give us a play-by-play and then they stop. I'm like, well, what did you learn? What was your takeaway? What skills did you develop? Again, how are you going to take that with you? So make sure that in your essays, if you are doing that type of topic, whether it's like your Eagle Scout project or that or sports injury, that you are coming full circle with it. Does that make sense?
Can I add one thing and I'll let you go? All right. And in the simple terms that I always say about it, nobody really cares about the life that you're talking about anyways. And that's not true, but it is true. I don't care about your project. I care about what you did.
I care about your project.
This is what I want to get out. Think of the movie Spider-Man. Spider-Man gets bit by a spider. It takes 10 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Nobody's going to go to a Spider-Man movie where it's 2 hours about a spider bite. Nobody goes. Why do you think superhero movies make money? Because we want the superhero part. You guys just tell us about the spider bite all the time. All right? We care about the superhero part. Okay? okay? And so I'm not saying nobody cares. I can tell you a story if Chris gives me time later on what I would write an essay about, and it has nothing to do with anything. It's not important at all, and I will blow away all of your papers.
Can I guess what topic it is?
Probably, and I mean,
No, we
you've
know.
been on this thing.
Okay, we'll get to it, don't worry.
But I say that because you guys spend so much time trying to find this event. Oh, I'm just a normal kid. In reality, it's the superhero part we care about. Alright? Yeah, the event's great, and we'll read it, and it's interesting, and we'll get to know you, and we'll probably talk to you about it. A good counselor's going to read your essay and then talk to you about it throughout the process. But in reality, superhero, not the spider bite.
Yeah, and I think in a very similar vein, I see a common mistake of maybe someone wanting to tell us how impactful their grandfather was in their life. And so they'll spend this entire essay telling me how amazing their grandfather is. And I get to the end of that essay, I'm like, well, I want to admit that grandfather, he sounds amazing. So I just think like you need to maybe have a little bit about your topic, and then the majority, remember, it's a personal statement. It's supposed to be about you. We're supposed to learn about you.
And I think one of the things that students might be thinking too is like, well, great, but I don't have that great grandfather who was amazing. I don't have that robotics thing. My life is boring. Nothing exciting's ever happened. Like, call this Action Heights, but it's really lean, whatever. Like, it's not like, well, I don't know where. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? So, so maybe this is the time where Aaron can tell his story of a very, like, is there any like an example of what's some mundane thing that I think is mundane, but maybe tells like a huge, thing about me that is really important to this. So
Yeah.
unless Rosa wants to go first before.
I'm going to go first real fast. Yeah, we're going to let him tell a story. But one of my favorite essays that I read last year was about this girl and how her family just like has on occasion, maybe once a month, they do game nights. And one of their favorite games to play as a family is Bananagrams. And I also love the game Bananagrams. I think that's great, but I don't put my personal bias into application reading. But she went through and said, oh, my tiles can spell this word. And it was like, hope or, family or, and it was just different things about her that then she explained why that mattered to her, like service, these are things that matter. And I just thought it was really cool, like, explaining how that, that family time was so impactful for her. And then going through, I learned a lot about who she is through this very mundane thing of playing Bananagrams. And so it doesn't need to be something that's super, like over the top. It can be something you look around your room and like, oh, I really like to draw. Okay, I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite drawings and how I came up with that. It can be something so mundane.
Right, and if you're like, listen, I still don't know what to write about. Ask your friends.
Yeah.
What's something funny that's happened to me? Ask them. A story that they want you to tell over and over again. Maybe it's, going on your first date. Maybe it was asking someone to the dance. Maybe it was, learning how to drive. Maybe it's your commute to school. It could be anything. It's what we want to see is you letting us into who you are. And so those, honestly, I think the best essay topics are the ones that have, in my opinion, they can be related to your major, that's fine, but are the ones that are just like that. They're just ordinary, everyday life, because you are not boring. You are all awesome young adults, and you live exciting lives. So if you're not sure, ask your friends, ask your parents, about things that have happened to you, and maybe you can come up with an idea that way. And then pick your essay topic based on what your idea is. So kind of work backwards.
If I was going to write one for college right now, I'd write it about grilled cheese sandwiches. Okay? Sophomore year of college, my buddies were trying to decide what to eat one day. Somebody said grilled cheese, and I was being lazy on the couch. Alright, and so they got out what you need to make grilled cheese sandwiches. It's three things, right? Butter, cheese, and bread. And I turned around and said, hey, wait, you guys forgot something for these grilled cheese sandwiches. And that was the day of my life change. Now, pause. You guys probably all eat grilled cheese sandwiches the wrong way. You toasted 2 pieces of bread with the cheese in the middle, and then before you eat it, what you need to do is spread some strawberry jam on top of one of those pieces of toast. Now, I can see some of your faces right now. That was the same faces that my buddies gave me in college. Okay, now some of you probably dip it in tomato soup, tomatoes a fruit and it's not even that good, so why don't you use a good fruit like strawberries? I'm just trying to help you here, all right? But that was the first time something in my life that I thought was completely normal, I found out wasn't. And then my essay is my superhero traits, right? How I learn now, how I look at the world, you know, how I do all these other things. Guys, a grilled cheese sandwich costs like 30 cents to make. Some of you eat it for lunch or dinner, you know, all the time. Guys, I just beat everybody's essay that talked about this really terrible divorce. Because we get it all the time. 50% of kids in high school are in divorced families now. Oh, you tore your knee in high school? So did like 25% of the other papers I read. And I feel terrible because you just had to work for like 18 months, really, really hard. Guys, I ate a grilled cheese sandwich. But when the committee meets, I'll be like, remember that guy who made the grilled cheese? Or remember that story about bananagrams? Like, that's how this stuff works. And so, it doesn't have to be some crazy life event. Just something that allows you to get to that superhero trait. Does that make sense? Like, I think a lot of students try to outdo each other with the play-by-play like you were talking about. And in reality, I'm like, all right, the play-by-play is great. Or like, I'm ready to admit grandpa. I don't know anything about you, but like, grandpa's in you. I don't know, but grandpa's in. You know, like, I think sometimes you flip that because in homework, you never write papers about yourself. It's always, this happened in history, write a paper. Read this book, write a paper. Do this science experiment, write a paper. This one kind of flips, and I think you get the best advice. Ask people. Ask them, if you had one word to describe me, what word would you use? Let them answer, and then ask one follow-up. Why would you say that about me? They'll literally write your paper for you. All right? So just understand what the goal of this is and what you're trying to do, and if you've got some unique thing to tell us, do it. Otherwise, just talk about why you're a superhero.
This made me think about both my mom and my father-in-law who have told certain stories to me like 1,000 times. Like, it's the first time. So I feel like if they were applying to college, I could tell them exactly like what to write about. Like, you know that story you've told me like 500 times, and you're just as excited about it each time you tell me, and I'm like, yes, I've heard it before. Like, that's the one you write about because that's, you know, and they're not anything exciting. So sorry. Hopefully they don't watch this. They won't. So good. All right, we're running out of time. So I do want to talk about AI, right? It's a big, obviously, buzzword. You know, should we use it? Should we not use it? Is there a good way to use it? Are you looking at it from the college side? Are you running stuff through AI as much as you can share? Like, what is some way that, you know, students could kind of go away with this where they feel comfortable with how AI plays a role in the college essay?
I just want to start by saying that when you submit that common application to the universities or colleges you're applying to, those are legal documents. So you are essentially saying that everything in here is truth and it's been done by me. And I can verify that, right? Here's the thing with AI. It's out there. Like, think about when a calculator came out. You can't use a calculator to do math. Or Google. Oh, what about the dictionary? Like, you can't just use Google. Listen, you guys, AI is out there, and it can be a beneficial tool. But there is a difference between having it write your entire essay, which you can tell the difference. It's not personal. Right. And, you guys know. And, or using it as a tool if you're stuck on something. Like, oh, is there a better, I've been stuck on this one sentence. Is there a better way to do this? Using it as a reference versus having it do the work for you is two different things. Would you agree? Right? So, and from there, we trust that when you submit that application, it's coming from you. So, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I always encourage students, like, if you want to utilize AI, use it as a brainstorming tool. And I think that is an appropriate use. But like we have been saying this whole time, we want to learn about you. AI does not live in your brain. As much as maybe the algorithm has learned things about you, they don't know the full extent of who you are down to your core. And I know that sounds like kind of like emotional and all of that, but like we want to know who you are at your core because we're trying to determine, will you be a good fit on our campus? And AI doesn't know that. They don't know you in that way. LOL. So use it as a brainstorming tool. We are not putting it through any sort of, to see, is this AI? We're not doing that, but it is easy to spot because certain phrases are repeated often, or it's just incredibly impersonal. And so we don't want to see that in any way. And I do want to echo what Jennifer shared, is that you are signing our university honor code when you submit your application. And so your work needs to be your work. And so I just want to emphasize that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is if it's not personal, AI wrote it. Whether AI did or not, AI wrote it. That's the change that's happened in the last 6 or 7 years. Like, I've been in this business a long, long, long time, okay? Before, you wrote it, whatever, but now that ChatGPT and all these AI things are so easily available, if you don't have anything personal about you in the essay, they wrote it whether they did or not. ChatGPT wrote it whether it did or not, okay? And so that's the biggest change on our side. I mean, some of you probably don't even know what a dictionary is. So, like, when you use that, yeah, you probably did, but it's all right. Hey, don't worry, I tried not to use one when I was in school either. But with that, just understand that you almost have to be personal now, whereas before you didn't. And it doesn't mean you have to give us these deep, dark secrets and stuff like that, but, like, talk about yourself. Or before, like, you could have a really well-written essay, and it was like, oh, you wrote a great essay. Now it's kind of flipped, just based on that stuff. The other thing I'll tell you, we all get trained on AI stuff too. And every college admissions counselor is using AI, so you guys aren't the only ones using it. It's kind of becoming like, I don't know, the social media you guys are not anymore. But, like, we all use it too, so just understand that's going on.
All right, so this is so much great information, and we're running out of time.